Now, it's the new initiative, which is expected to free up 30 million GP appointments each year. Now, from today, pharmacists are going to have the power to prescribe medication to patients without them having to see a doctor first.
Following the news, community pharmacist Katie Pickles is joining us now to reveal how the scheme will work. Welcome to This Morning.
Lovely to see you.
We touched on this quite a bit yesterday.
Yeah,
we had the Prime Minister in yesterday. For those who aren't aware, explain exactly what is the Pharmacy First scheme.
So it's one of the biggest changes that we've had in community pharmacies and the trust that the government has put into pharmacy teams to support patients. Essentially, it's just building on some of the skills and the advice that we've already been providing for a number of years. But it will give pharmacists the power to supply prescription-only medicines for 7 common conditions which can be treated within the GP.
I'm going to talk about them 7 conditions in just a second, but listen, I completely understand pharmacists do an amazing job.
They really do.
Hell of a lot of training that goes into becoming a pharmacist, but there are a lot of people out there that are a little bit awkward about going to their pharmacist to talk about certain conditions and things like that. So these 7 conditions that have been authorised for pharmacists to prescribe for, what are they, and are they as common as we think they are?
Yeah, so they are things that we've already in pharmacy been offering advice for a number of years. But in the past, we've only been able to provide advice or offer the sale of an over-the-counter medicine. Or in more serious cases, we've had to refer back to the GP. So for the new 7 conditions, which are sinusitis, shingles, sore throat, impetigo, infected insect bites, uncomplicated urinary tract infections in women and earache in children. There's a lot there, but certainly they are things that when people are feeling unwell, they can be quite easily treated in the pharmacy, and we can supply prescription-only antibiotics and antivirals for those, really freeing up the GP appointment. Certainly about access as well. It's usually a lot easier to get into pharmacy than
at the minute it is.
Yeah.
And I think there's that thing, isn't there, about, like, your local pharmacy. You know, like, you always... Like, going back from when I was a kid, like, I had a relationship with my local GP and then you'd go to the pharmacy after for the antibiotic.
Get the lollipop.
And it would be the same people and those familiar faces. So a lot of people do feel that they have that familiarity with their local pharmacy, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. We see in our pharmacy teams that they've got great relationships with the local community. They're often like really in the heart of really key places, whether that be on the high street or within the local village, and they're really, really accessible. And like you say, it's sort of a lot of people are already using pharmacies as the first port for advice.
You say that. My mum, obviously, where she's got Crohn's, we now live in a separate part of Essex, but she still likes to go back to the pharmacy where we used to live because of the relationship she's got. And pharmacists work incredibly hard anyway. This is fantastic that potentially, and I say potentially because we've got to see the data, that 30 million GP appointments are now going to become more freely available, fingers crossed, to people. But what pressure does that put on you guys in store? Because my understanding that this is a just walk-in situation. Do you need to book an appointment with your pharmacist?
So we're really, really excited about it. Certainly all of our Well Pharmacy teams are all ready to provide the service, as are other pharmacy chains as well. But it's really, there are a number of ways that people can access the service. So as you mentioned, you can just walk in. Certainly, I think it's launch day today, so we're waiting to see how it's been going. Certainly in the early weeks, it might be that there is a short wait to see the pharmacist, or the consultations might be a little bit longer, just as the teams get to grips with what the service would be.
It's a new system.
Yeah.
So everyone needs a bit of patience up front.
Yes.
This is, like you said, you're excited about this. This is actually already doing really well in Scotland, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So in Scotland, they already have a Pharmacy First service. And Wales also have something similar called the Common Ailment Service. Right. Really, really well received by all the people that are accessing it, and also the GP teams as well. So it's a real vote of confidence from the GP teams when they're actually signposting and referring people to pharmacy for these conditions.
And we're obviously not, this isn't trying to push people not to go and see your GP, because there are a lot of conditions that you should be still trying to get to see your GP for. When it comes down to the pharmacists, on their system, do they have a similar or the same system to what the GP would have? So, for argument's sake, if a child with an earache needs antibiotics, but they may already might have had a funny turn with a certain antibiotics, which is on their NHS record, would you guys have access to things like that?
Yes, we do. We do have access to the patient's record, and we'll also check if they have anything like allergies. Pharmacists are really, really well trained to spot the signs and symptoms of anything that's really serious that can't be handled within the pharmacy.
Right.
So certainly they'd be able to either refer to the GP or in some more urgent circumstances to A&E if there was anything that they felt like they weren't able to treat within the pharmacy.
And you know those 7, we spoke about the 7 like conditions that you can treat. Are those things that you would already be seeing? You know, like sometimes I will go into a pharmacy and say, my little one's eye's a little bit infected. I'm not sure if it is. And I've always sort of done that anyway. Is there anything here on the shelf, or it might be this or it might be that? Are those things that you typically see anyway?
Yeah, we see a lot of them already. Like I said, people often use pharmacy as the first port of call for advice. So what it has been a little bit frustrating in the past when we've been offering consultations, there's only so far we've been able to go.
Of course, because you couldn't prescribe.
And then it has been frustrating for people who might feel like they're being passed between healthcare providers if they've had to go to the GP. But now this means that we'll be able to treat them within pharmacy, so it'll be really quick and easy for them to get treatment.
Good. Well, I mean, that's exactly what we want to hear. I mean, like we say, go and see your GP if the condition is a lot worse. Even if it's something like one of these ailments and you can still get in with your GP, great, but the pharmacy is there. You can do this now.
Hopefully this will free up that space.
And do you know what? I've got to say, I love a walk about a pharmacy.
Oh, there's
whenever I go abroad, foreign chemist, I'm like, oh,
I know. What is it about that?
I know, I just love it.
My best friend, Lois, is obsessed with pharmacies.
My favourite thing to do.
Oh, I've got to check out the pharmacy.
Yeah, I've got to go and have a look in the pharmacy. Good luck. I hope it's not as busy as you're expecting it to be.
There you go. Well done. First this morning.
Lovely to meet you, Katie.
Thank you.
Take care.